Ladies and gentlemen,
They say the next big thing is here.
the Steve Warneke Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Steve Warneke Show. Well, who's this guy? Yes, I am Steve Warneke, author of From Boy to Blue, and everything over at stevewarneke.com. We've got articles, podcasts, and more. Thanks for being with us. A couple quick announcements to tell you about. Ooh, if you want to come say hi, get your signed copy of From Boy to Blue. We will be in Fort Lauderdale November 4th, 3 to 5 p.m. at Switchbox Coffee Roasters. Thanks to the good folks there for hosting us. So that's November 4th, 3 to 5 p.m. We'll be at the Tampa Book Fair in Florida, November the 11th. And Miami Book Fair is a week long, but we'll have a booth there. So plenty of opportunities to come say hello and get your signed copy of From Boy to Blue. Look forward to seeing you. This week's podcast, I wanted to see if I could get to the bottom or uncover the current of these accusations about racist police officers and racist police actions. I've talked a lot recently about diversity in police departments. And after 15 years at a large city police department, I can say hands down that police departments are among the more diverse places I've ever seen as far as workplaces go. There's all kinds of races and sexes and religions and sexual orientations. Everybody's there. It's really because police departments are supposed to mirror the society in which they're protecting, and they do a pretty good job of that. And out of the other places that I've worked, police departments have the most diversity that I've ever seen. So why is it that people from all walks of life are being charged with acting with a bigoted, biased motivation when it comes to enforcing the law? What is the criteria we are using to determine if a police incident was racially motivated? Because from what I can tell, it's just merely the race of the officer and the race of the person involved. Let me ask you a question. What criteria do you personally use when you think of an incident, when you hear of an incident, when something happens? What is it you use? At what point does something become a racist interaction to you? In almost every state, there's something on the books about hate crimes. Hate crimes is typically an aggravator. So you can assault somebody in general, and you can assault somebody because of a race, religion, sexual orientation, whatever, and that increases the severity of the crime because it's a hate crime. But when they charge racially motivated aggravators, they can't just go solely based on the race of the person. So if a white person was assaulted by a black person or vice versa, or just a gay guy gets beat up, or a Jewish guy gets beat up, that doesn't necessarily qualify for a hate crime. You have to have more than that. You have to have some indication. Now, I remember when I was working in District 1 at the Denver Police Department, one night there was a Jewish boys' home. The boys wore yarmulkes, and somebody was out with a blow dart gun shooting these kids in the back, but they were only shooting the kids from the school. And they got a number of them, and we were able to catch the person. I think now when you start to see, did anybody else get shot? Was it just the people with yarmulkes? Was it just the people from this Jewish school? I think you start to enter an area where you might have more to go on. It wasn't just a Jewish kid that was assaulted with a blow dart gun. It was several of them from a school. And nobody else was. So now you get to a point where you have something more than just the race, the religion, the sexual orientation of the person involved. And then you can get into potentially discussing bigotry, racism, hate crimes, bias in policing. But what is the criteria you're using? Obviously, there's been lots of high-profile shootings lately. We had the Philando Castillo shooting in Minnesota. That was the Facebook shooting. The Eric Gardner death in New York. The Michael Brown shooting in Ferguson, of course. Tamir Rice was shot in Cleveland. Freddie Gray's death in Baltimore. What evidence from any of those cases do you submit, besides the race of the person involved, to show or proclaim that this was a bigoted, racist motivation on behalf of the police officers who were working? Because the only evidence I've heard in those cases is that the suspect was black and the officer wasn't. Is that the only criteria we are using? Because we need more than that. And we are doing a tremendous disservice by perpetuating this lie that police officers are bigoted or are using force disparagingly on specific groups of people. If you had, for instance, a police officer that said something, oh, I hate these gays. Let's get these gays coming out of this gay bar to another officer or something. Or he says, you have a police officer that tells one of the other police officers is like, the black people down at this bar aren't up to any good. Let's go see if we can mess with some of them. I said something like that. All right. Now we should be talking about what the hell's going on here. Well, why is this guy saying that? What the hell does that mean? That's a legitimate cause for investigation, concern, outrage. When police officers are using force, is there any evidence? Are we even looking? Is there a pattern? Does this officer have a pattern of misconduct or a pattern that we could look at? Is there anything? Is there any evidence at all whatsoever besides the race of the people involved? Because you got a society now that is distrusting the police. It's making everybody less safe. It's making police officers' jobs harder. Police officers are wearing body cameras now 24/7. Which, by the way, is exonerating the police 98% of the time, 99% of the time. It's actually helping. It's showing that the actions the police officers took was reasonable and appropriate, just like it's always been. I'm not saying there's never a cop that doesn't screw up, but trust me, after working in internal affairs, those officers are dealt with. There's evidence that they've done something wrong. There's a pattern of misconduct. There's something else besides the race of the people involved that indicate that there was a motivation here based on a particular group of people. Is there a time in your mind when a non-black police officer can use force against a black suspect and it's not racist? Is any time a police officer uses force against a black suspect, is it racist? There's got to be, if we're going to live in America where we're all in this big melting pot, there's got to be instances where police might have to use force against a certain group of people, black, white, Hispanic, gay, whatever, and it's just because they had it coming. The only examples I see of that, where there's not a big uproar, like you have a suspect that's actively firing or has already shot somebody and then he's killed by police and he was a member of a minority group. And then people are like, well, now those cases you don't typically hear much about. So now, what do you submit? We wait for somebody to be shot at or to be shot before we can take action against so we should all carry cards. I got my gay card here. Just I'm gay. You can't do anything until, have any gay officers here? You can only talk to gay officers. I mean, I have experienced being treated differently because of my sexual orientation. I know what it's like to be treated differently. I have just an interesting story that I wanted to tell you about. Kelly here hates this story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. I took Kelly's part of the team here, the marketing manager. She helps us with everything. I took her to Ruth Chris Steakhouse for her birthday, and it was it was a nice evening. They decorated the table. They brought out candles and they sang to her. They actually took a photograph and printed it out, put it in this little card, And I also took my boyfriend to Ruth Chris when he graduated. And he was in high school. He's older than that. He went to he was graduating with a master's in anesthesia. But the point is we were celebrating at Ruth Chris, and I had called ahead just like I had with Kelly, and had made the reservation and told them it was a special occasion. And I noticed that the treatment that we got was different. There was no sparkles on the table. Nobody printed out a picture. They were so much friendlier when it was just Kelly. They were, I don't know, it was a different experience. It just felt different. I'm wondering if other minority groups or people that have felt discriminated against, sometimes you can't put your finger on it. You just feel like, it's a little different. I just felt like it wasn't, I know what it feels like normally, and that wasn't it. Just little stuff, right? But nobody treated us poorly. They didn't throw us out of the restaurant. They didn't not serve us. They didn't give us attitude. I just had a much better experience with Kelly than I did with my boyfriend, Michael. And I immediately assumed that I got treated better with Kelly because we appeared to be a straight couple than I did with Michael. That's what I thought. That was the first thought that came into my head, that was the reason the experience wasn't the same. Now, I'm going to come back to this in a second, but I want to make a few points based on this story. All of us, no matter who we are, hang out, and we like to hang out typically with groups of people that are like us. There's entire communities, for instance, like Wilton Manors, which is a small town in South Florida where 90-something% of the population is gay. I mean, and I live 3 minutes from the border of Wilton Manors. You feel more comfortable when you're around people that are more like you. Now, I'm not saying people don't have diversity amongst their groups and cliques, because I actually feel like I have a really diverse group of friends that I hang out with, and I enjoy that. But for the most part, religious people tend to hang with religious people, depending on the denomination, right? Even by denomination. White people hang out with white people, gay people hang out with gay people, black people hang out with black people. For the most part, we hang out with people that are like-minded. I've always tried to challenge myself. You should invite people that aren't like you. I want people around me that can enrich my experience of life by showing me things and teaching me things about them and where they came from. And I like that. I just try to do that. But here's another interesting fact. When an outsider comes into a group of like people, they get treated differently. Kelly has, on several occasions, come out with us to gay bars. And, I mean, I wouldn't say you're scorned. Would you say you're scorned at? But, you're definitely, there's a difference, right? You can tell. There's a huge difference from when you go out. I mean, is it different, Kelly, when you go to a gay bar?
Yeah, they look at you just a little bit differently, or there's just a look of knowing, oh, you're the straight best friend.
So you might not be treated poorly. They don't throw stuff at you. They don't kick you out. But you can put your finger on it. You're not part of the main population, and you feel a little bit different. That's not necessarily discrimination. When the gay people see a girl in the bar, they go, "Oh, it's a girl." I mean, they're not interested in the girls. So, but yeah, they may not be as friendly. It's a different treatment, but is it racist? I don't think it is. Are they throwing stuff? I mean, Kelly, do they throw stuff at you? Do they kick you out?
No.
Do they call you names, shove you,
No.
throw drinks on you?
No.
Are you able to order drinks and get good service?
Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, we've all had that experience. You're not getting treated as well as everybody else in the group, and this goes across all the different communities. But you're not being treated poorly. I was in Chicago for spring break in college, and I went to the University of Kansas, by the way, and I had my Kansas college roommate with me, and we went to this comedy club, and I'm going to tell you the first part of the story because it's fantastic. We don't know anything about the city. We come out of the hotel. We get in a cab. It's freezing cold. We tell them we want to go to this club. And the cabbie says, "Are you sure about that?" I go, "What do you mean? What's wrong with you?" "Yeah, we're sure. Take us to the club." "You sure you want a cab ride to this club?" I go, "Yeah, I want to. I mean, well, now I'm trying to act like in big city, right? Like, hey, what are you doing? Give me a cab ride." He drives to the top of the block because it's like 500 feet away from where we're standing. And he stops the car and he's like, "Yeah, it'll be $4." It's like, "You could have walked here, you dummies." But so I guess, anyway, that's the way the night started. But we go in the comedy club and we tell the lady behind the glass it's gonna be two of us. And she's like, "Oh, okay, well, hold on." So she takes our money. She says, hold on. We're gonna take you to your seats. Oh, okay. Everybody else was just ahead of us just got tickets and they went in there. And some guy comes out, he got a big smile on his face, and he brings us in and sits us front row center. And I was like, "Man, what? What? We win the lottery or something? This is great." Turns out we're the only two white people in this club. Totally African American, not one. We're the only two, and we're from Kansas. It's even worse. Now, the entire comedy show, I'm not even sure anybody stuck to their material. They just came out and were like, "Hi, white people," and just tore us. I mean, just went for us the whole night, one after another after another. And I mean, it was hilarious. But was that racist? I was definitely treated differently. In fact, they were making fun of me. Is that racist? It's not. I didn't get beat up. I didn't get drinks thrown on me. I didn't get refused service. I didn't get treated like everybody else, but I was a little different in that instance. I wasn't part of the main group. The treatment's different, but it's not racist. Have you ever bonded with anybody like you or done something nice for somebody that was like you? I have lots of examples of this, and I don't mean to call all flight attendants gay here, but I mean, but lots of times I'm on a flight and, if we figure out that we're both gay, sometimes I get free drinks or I get moved to a nice seat. I mean, that's happened before. Has that ever happened to you? Because you went to the same church or your kids went to the same school or you were part of the same minority or something. Has anybody ever done something nice for you? Is that disparaging treatment for everybody else that didn't get free drinks? No, sometimes you just do that. Because we tend to like people that are like us. We identify, "Oh, I'll do something nice for this guy. We got something in common." Everybody knows the story of the boy who cried wolf. And it's hard to have legitimate outrage for people that actually experience disparaging, bigoted, and racist treatment when it's actually happening. When everybody is accusing everybody else of being bigoted every 5 seconds. People that are using accusations of disparaging treatment and racism oftentimes are doing it so that they can get something. "Oh, I can't get on this flight. Oh, there's no open table. Oh, is this because I'm gay? Oh, is this because that?" And it's being used as a way to manipulate and get what it is we want. And everybody's trying to find something that they can use. Please don't use differences amongst people to manipulate to get what it is you want. Don't do that. We can't always get what we want. And if that's our motivation, we need to look inside. If that's our motivation, we should be held in check. Aren't we doing a disservice to those people who really are being treated differently or actually are being victims of crime because they are a member of a group? We're doing a disservice to people. I really challenge myself, and I hope everybody else will stop and think for a moment and question themselves about what makes something racist and what groups do they belong to and how do they treat people and have they actually received disparaging treatment because of a group they were in. Here's what I challenge myself to do. Anytime something like this happens, like the Ruth Chris story, the first thought I had was, I'm being treated differently because I'm gay. I challenge myself to always come up with 2 reasons that don't have to do with me or my perceived accusations of bigotry. For instance, we had totally different waiters that night. It is 100% conceivable that one of them is not as friendly as the other, that he was having a shitty day, that he was in a bad mood, that he hates doing the pitcher thing. They were different people. Maybe the friendlier guy I had with Kelly would have been just as friendly with Michael and I. I don't know the answer to that. When we're making everything fit through our prism of perceived bigotry, then that's the conclusion. Well, because of this, it's racist, bigoted, disparaging treatment. Well, hold on a minute. Could there be something that doesn't have to do with that? Could the person be having a bad day? And was the treatment actually disparaging? Or was it just different? All right, food for thought. Surely. All right, just a reminder, we've got all kinds of stuff. November 4th, the Fort Lauderdale book signing. November 11th, Tampa. Head to stevewarneke.com if you want more information and check out articles, podcasts, and more. Get your copy of From Boy to Blue 2. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.